Hey Maureen, this video is for you, and I'm just going to give you a quick rundown of your old fork seal and fork parts. Up here on the top, this is your fork seal. Next to it, just flying in just now, is the dust cover. This is your upper bushing, and this is your lower bushing. These are also known as slides. And I'm just going to move these two new parts out of the picture for now, just so I could quickly show you how all these would go together. In the assembly of your fork, it would be this guy on the top of this guy, on top of that guy, on top of this guy. And this sort of, stack that I'm showing you would never present itself on the actual fork itself. But just for video purposes, I've got it set up like this, just so you can sort of see what the stack up would look like. If it were. And whoops, focus. Yeah. All right. So I just want to quickly show you here underneath this dust cover. Where is it? Turn. There is a manufacturer's name. Where did it go? Oh, it's under my thumb. There it is. There's a manufacturer's name, and you'll see it right there. It is NOK. NOK is a fork seal and dust cover manufacturer that largely does not sell to the public, but moreover is purchased in huge quantities, in the millions, by motorcycle manufacturers and other oil seals that are required in things like hydraulic rams, lift cylinders, excavators, all that stuff that would use anything hydraulic would typically go to NOK to get their seals from. In the motorcycle world, there are lots of other manufacturers that will make fork seals specifically for motorcycles and other applications, but for the most part, their bread and butter is made by servicing the motorcycle industry. These fork seals here you'll see are K and S. This is a knockoff manufacturer of the NOK fork seal. And in my opinion, and this is probably shared by a lot of other bike mechanics and people who just know how forks are assembled, K and S are probably among the least expensive, and as you could probably imagine, probably the lowest in quality of fork seals that you can get. These are 100% hit or miss. Sometimes you get them, they work great. Other times you get them, they don't last at all. The latter is usually the case, but like I said, sometimes you get lucky, and other times you lose. It's the sort of kind of like the house rules are stacked against you. You're more than likely to lose. All right, so those are those two guys over there. They're out of the way. This is your upper bushing, and I just got to pull back a little bit here. On the inside here, on the inside coating, there is a surface called Teflon. It is just like that slippery stuff on your frying pans. And it is designed to allow the metal leg that slides through here to slide without interference and more specifically slide very smoothly. And if we close in really close here, we can see that the actual surface of Teflon on this particular upper bushing is actually looking pretty good. This upper edge where my finger is touching is a little bit rough, but that's okay. There's no contact there. It's pretty much where all you see that there is Teflon. And overall, this surface actually looks really good. If we push this guy up here, this is the outer surface, and this part will not make any contact with the inner slide part. Let me pull back just a little bit here. It won't make contact with the outer part as it literally gets locked in by the fork itself and is held in place and it doesn't move. So on the outer side here, what we want to see is a nice clear copper finish that will basically illustrate to us that it is sealed itself against the bottom half of the fork leg. And any indication of a leak will look a little something like this line right here. And this is, I'm going to get in real specific here. Not this gap, this is the end gap, which does offer, potential for leaking. But moreover, what I'm pointing at is this line right here. This right here is a definitive leak in this fork seal, and it's the same just on the other side. I'll turn this a little bit more. It's the same on the other side. It is not leaking at the gap, but it is leaking at either side. And then all the way around, you'll see on this bushing, it's actually looking really good. There's no real signs of it having leaked. So that's all good. Now, this is the upper. So I'm going to move this out of frame and I'm going to pull in our lower. Now, the lower works exactly like the upper does, but it works in the opposite. So whereas this one has the fork tube slide on the inside, This one actually here slides on the outside. We know this to be true. Whoops, I'm kind of shaky here, sorry. We know this to be true because on the outside of this one, there is no Teflon, but on the outside of this one, sorry, camera work is not my forte. On the outside of this one, there is Teflon, right? So they're exact opposites. Teflon on the inside, Teflon on the outside. All right, so this is a sliding surface in here, and this is a sliding surface right here. All right, so we're going to start on the outside here because this is the surface that matters most. And as you can see, the Teflon coating is absolutely completely worn right through in some places. You can clearly see right there, it's completely worn right through. And then as we move along here, it gets a little bit better, like that sort of porous look disappears, becomes a little bit more solid, but then, oh, yeah, okay, well, it's clearly leaking right here, and then all the way around, or the rest of the way around, it's looking better, a little bit of a thin spot there, and then we're back to the beginning. So we know right away that this upper bushing, and this is incorrect, this is actually the lower bushing. This is the one that actually moves back and forth with the fork and its activity. We know that this one is leaking around the outside, and also look on the inside. And I'm just going to pull the other guy into focus here as contrast. Remember how this one doesn't show any real signs of wear? It looks more or less even all the way around. Well, look at this one on the inside, on its copper side. Look at how absolutely polished, practically freaking smooth, like a mirror finish this one has become. And this one's really worn out. Like, wow, this one was leaking all the way. Oh man. Anyway, this one is done on the inside. So I want you to have a look at your previous bill, and I want you to see if in your previous bill you were billed for new bushings. Or slides, they're known as, because if you were billed for new bushings, there's no way that these bushings would have lasted a short duration of time after having been installed new to the time that we are now with them being completely worn out. These to me look like they've been in the bike for a full 75,000 kilometers. Now, the fork seals, they kind of tell their own story. You might be asking yourself, why is it that one of these fork seals, the fork seal here is K&S or S and K, whatever it is, and the other one is NOK. It's because the previous technician who changed your fork seals didn't change the dust cover. It was probably in good enough condition that he or she rendered it to say, you know what, we'll just reuse this and we'll continue to use it. So they did. But the fork seal, which is the actual part that holds the oil in the fork leg, this was leaking, and he was handed the parts by, I'm not going to mention his name, and well, you know the rest. They started leaking as they are 100% hit or miss. So I want you to check your bill. I want you to see if you were billed for all of this jazz, and if you were, then regrettably, I think you've been ripped off because the only part that they changed was this one right here. They reused the dust cover. I don't know this for sure, but I'm going to say that they probably did. And I'm pretty darn confident that they just continue to use the same old bushings, whether or not they build you for these. These are completely worn out. Now, just to answer why I suspect one was switched and the other one wasn't. Fork seals are pretty expensive. You'll see this in your bill when I present it to you with your original Yamaha parts. There's actually a pile of Yamaha bags here that I emptied to replace your fork seals. These are all genuine Yamaha parts that I've used for your bike. But one of the reasons why these wouldn't match and why I suspect he only replaced the fork seal is because he could save money. That's all there is to it. Instead of billing you $50 for a fork seal that he paid $25 or $30 for, he'll charge you $50 for a fork seal that he paid $4 for. And I'm pretty confident that's what he did. Just to save some money. They didn't last very long and he kind of got caught out on it. And he continued to use this one and potentially bill you for it. Although, again, check your bill to see if you've been charged for it. And if you have, the only reason why I think that these two are completely different manufacturers is because, well, he could very easily have said the only dust cover that was available was the NOK and he billed you accurately for it. But truth be known, there's no real way to know for sure if this is the original dust cover or not. The suspicious telling part to me is the fact that it says NOK right here and that the other one here says K&S on it. And that's typically, like if we go through all the new parts on your fork seals, they'll all be stamped NOK, because that I'm using 100% NOK parts from Yamaha. But K&S is aftermarket and NOK is OEM. And typically I would want to use matching parts. But if parts aren't available, then yeah, potentially he could have gone the expensive route and got you expensive dust covers and used cheap fork seals. But the other tell, these, and we also know that he kind of has a bit of a habit of not being, shall we say, ethical. All right, my dear, I'm sorry this video was so long, but I just wanted to explain to you my findings. Lots of love, and I hope you're feeling better soon. Bye.